ethicality is the latest trend. You know, we're surrounded by all these ethical products. You can buy an ethical t-shirt, an ethical car, perhaps even an ethical beer. As an ethics researcher, you might think that I'm thrilled, but actually I'm not. I'm a bit worried. The problem is that products are not ethical, only we humans are. We are responsible for pondering what's right and what's wrong and then trying to act accordingly. Another problem is that almost nothing is unambiguously right or wrong. I think this ethicality trend reflects our passion for black and white solutions. But unfortunately, the correct ethical answers are a rare species in the 21st century. Many of our ethical choices are actually not between right and wrong, but between good and another kind of good. Prosperity or preventing climate change. Cheaper products or human rights. Health or environment, family or work. Sometimes it indeed feels that guilt follows you, whatever you do. It feels tempting just to turn away from the problems and just do nothing. The consolation, however, is that we don't have to become ethical superheroes. Today's ethicality is not so much about knowing the right answers. It's more about preserving the feeling that what we do matters. It's about not being paralyzed by guilt and powerlessness, and it's about noticing our shared humanity, even in strangers. When I was a girl, I had an imaginary friend. Her name was Kristiina, and she lived in a place called Korpijärvi. I had a really bad speaking impediment, so imagine saying over and over again, Kristiina Korpijärveltä. Well, one day, she gave me a call. She told me that her home had been robbed. Thieves had taken all sorts of valuable things, and now she felt really sad. I was horrified for Kristiina. How awful. Looking back from where I sit now, I think I remember this incident so vividly because it had an important function. I was at the age where kids start to learn that you can't take other kids' toys without asking permission. So I started using my imagination to reflect on this quite basic ethical notion. I argue that we should also, as adults, take imagination more seriously. We use it whenever we read or write or watch movies or listen to the stories of other people or tell about our lives to them. Basically, whenever we think about things that are not present at the moment. But we often think imagination only as an escape route from reality. We forget that imagination also has the power to shape reality. Think about the biblical story of Good Samaritan. Some of you may know it. It's a story about offering unconditional help to an injured stranger. Imagination allows you to picture yourself as if you were in the story. Would I help a stranger, or should I help a stranger? Apparently my earring is making a noise. Thanks. I'll just toss it to Kate. Good catch. I was talking about Good Samaritan, I think. A little earring problem. So, you know, research compared those Finns who know the story of Good Samaritan and those who don't know it. And guess what? Those who know it believe much more strongly that helping the underprivileged is important. So thinking about Good Samaritan and my friend Kristiina Korpijärveltä, I think that imagination can serve ethicality. To be able to act ethically, we first have to be able to figure out what are the possible ways to act and how they promote compassion and justice. And their imagination helps us. Through imagination, we can try new ideas and values and ways to exist, as French philosopher Paul Ricoeur put it. And imagination is such a powerful tool in ethics because it calls into play all aspects of humanity, not just the rational mind, but also meanings and emotions and hope and despair. Imagination also engages us in action, much more than just facts or numbers. And the great news is that you can train imagination. Feed it by exposing yourself to new perspectives. A great way to do that is to meet people who you wouldn't otherwise meet. As a part of my research, I interviewed bank employees. They had volunteered in a philanthropic project where they mentored marginalized young people. Many of those young people suffered from loneliness or mental health issues or lack of support. Some of them had severe financial difficulties. And before those encounters with the young people, many bank employees thought that financial problems are mainly caused by recklessness. But as they listened to the life stories of those young people, they realized that actually there are real reasons for financial issues. They're not caused by carelessness. And now, as a result, some bank employees said that they are more compassionate to their customers. Others said that they look at the society in a whole new way. So what I'm saying is that perhaps the greatest power of imagination lies in its ability to transform us, make us revise our thoughts and choices. And I've experienced this myself as well. I grew up in a religious revivalist movement. Many people would consider its norms quite extreme. And its obsession about sin left its wounds. For many years, I could only feel bitterness towards the movement. But then, a couple of years ago, I read a book, a fictional novel. It was a story of a woman who had been hurt in a similar movement, but in another much worse way. It wasn't my story, but it had an impact. After all the wrongdoings and all the hurt and all the pain, the woman in the novel still valued what was good in that movement. This example of forgiveness made me think that I can also let go of the hatred. So, as you have noticed, thinking ethics through imagination differs from the trendy talk on ethicality. It reminds you that an ethical t-shirt doesn't make ethical choices, but you should. Imagination makes you think about the consequences of your choices and rethink what kind of person you want to be. So, if you want to strengthen the foundation of your ethicality, train and feed your imagination. But no matter what we do, we can't escape those difficult ethical decisions. Those excruciating moments of guilt will remain a part of being a human. And in those moments, imagination can offer something that ethical products can't. Imagination can open up a horizon of hope. It lifts you up from the paralyzing feeling of guilt and powerlessness. It restores the belief that a better world is possible, and despite your all shortcomings, you have a part in building it. And if all else fails, then just hug your imaginary friend.